Hallo alle zusammen. Ich bin Aja. Ja, vielen Dank, Walter, für die Keynote. Also, wie gesagt, man hat mir gesagt, ich soll nicht einverstanden sein mit dem, was du gesagt hast, aber das hat doch alles gestimmt. Die Argumente waren alle richtig, aber das muss ich auch gar nicht. Wir schalten nochmal zurück auf Deutsch, denn meine Keynote wird auch in Deutsch sein. Und für all die, die mich nicht kennen, meine Geschichte beginnt, als ich 18 Jahre alt war. Ich war noch richtig jung. Äh, ich ich habe doch gesagt, ich wollte Deutsch sprechen. Ach, tut mir leid. Ja, mein Fehler. My story started when I was 18. I was super young, and I really fell in love with the tech industry. I learned how to program. I learned how to present yourself in a specific way, so to fit the startup industry. I started wearing sneakers and so on and so forth. And I read many magazines, Forbes and Fortune magazine, and I actually saw wonderful founders and startup companies and scale-up guys on the front covers. And I thought, well, I will train my algorithm in such a way that I only get the results that fit my targets in life. It works pretty well to adapt the algorithm to yourself. And all of a sudden, I got this advertising on Facebook, and it said, do you want to make $10,000 investing in with a Star Draper in Silicon Valley? And I thought, oh, this sounds probable. I'll apply for this. I applied. And in a typically American style, I wrote a rap and I said, well, you wanted a creative application. I'm 18, here I am, I can program, and I would like to apply for a job as an entrepreneur in residency. 3 days later, I received a telephone call. They said, well, you've got the job. I wanted to make sure that this is not a spam. Could you briefly tell me what you liked about me? And just 3 days later to get the yes for $10,000 is quite cool. And they said, sie sind die Einzige gewesen, die sich überhaupt beworben hat. I was the only one who applied for this scholarship. I found this pretty cool, so I thought I'm the best. And then we stopped the call. I got all the documents. I booked my flight to Silicon Valley, or rather to San Mateo, it was, to be precise. And I was able to work with this billionaire. This is Tim Draper, and Tim Draper has established a university, Draper University. In the Draper University, I slowly understood when I saw the gate, the entry gate, that this is not a normal university. It's a university with Tesla in the middle, a pool at the back. This is a remodeled 5-star hotel. And I learned from the founders of Silicon Valley how to manage a company. And one of the educators was Peter Thiel. And for all of those who don't know Peter Thiel, yes, he's the guy who is currently busy to actually fund many companies that are undermining our democracy right now. I learned from the best. I learned from Peter Thiel that forming monopolies is seen as the foundation for a successful company. With these lessons, I left the Drape University. This was my graduation party. This is the nearest to a bachelor. We were all brightly clothed. We're all superheroes, and we now have all to start up these ideas, these companies with the platform idea, which brings me to the idea that the tech rows at Tim Draper's, this was the best, the icon students. I wrote a book about Broligarchy, where I characterize these rows. I tell you what they stand for. The fiber libertarians. This is not the normal libertarians against the state. No, typically, they're also going against the grain in the digital sphere. And with a headline that really resonated with me, and it was dropped last year, and that Microsoft licenses at the federal administration cost millions of euros. In 24, it was so 274. In 24, 347 million. And in 25, this was 481 million euros. So this is subscription fees to be able to use the software in our federal administration. And the prices are going up, although we're not getting more for our money. Strange, isn't it? Who owns this infrastructure that we're talking about all of the time? The infrastructure that we want to save Europe with, paying high fees to Microsoft because we do not own the infrastructure. The myth that I often encounter is, well, we're breaking ourselves, DNA, then investment is going down. They have gone down since the Euro crisis, not only since the launch of the GTBR in 2018. It's more about Adam Tools, an economist, to quote this economist. The problem was not caused by regulation. And 95% of the pilot projects in AI do not have measurable benefits to them. In an MIT study published in 25, it was said, we know that companies invest $30 to $40 billion and don't get real revenue out of it. And before somebody says I'm against innovation, I'm not. I'm a fan of AI, of machine learning and statistics. Let me put it like that. But I have to ponder on this big investment, the added value. There is no real proper match right now. And many people, including me, say, well, it's not the fault of the AI, but probably that companies cannot use it properly. But nevertheless, too much money is being invested. And with so much investment in AI, in the AI infrastructure, and the companies that make AI big, the American companies, I look around and I see that 80% of the digital infrastructure is imported. 70% of the frontier models came from the US. And 7% of the global software research comes from Europe. No, it's 70. I'm sorry, it's not 7, it's 77. No, that was a typo. So only 7% of the global software research is done in Europe. So this is too little. But what I'm trying to say is make sure who can actually pull our plug right now. And this brings us to the people we actually come across in the news every day. Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Elon Musk. We have to overcome democracy. It's standing in our way, they say. Mario Draghi says we need 800 billion euros of investment every year in order to make Europe really competitive again. I would actually share a plan with you that tells you that we need a lot less. We only need 300 billion over a period of 10 years in order to safeguard our digital sovereignty. This is only 4% of the volume mentioned by Draghi. Invested in an infrastructure that sooner or later will make us sovereign, because we're currently unable to implement the Digital Market Act, to adopt and enforce deep-face laws, to enforce data privacy, antitrust legislation. These are strong on paper, these regulations, but we're not really capable of actually asserting these rules against the tech companies. We have the laws, we have the courts, we have the institutions, but what we lack is sovereignty. And with this plan that I will share with you in a minute, and I really bank on this, and this plan says that we do not need another Elon Musk or an equivalent in Europe for doing that. We don't need any billionaires to undermine our democracy or who are come to a position where we can no longer control them. Francesca Bria says that we need the Eurostack. What is the Eurostack? As a strategist for digital politics and the former strategic policy officer for Barcelona, she says we need the tech stack that we saw about in the keynote before. The Eurostack means her proposal for European digital sovereignty. So we're looking at the cloud structure, AI, semiconductors. And this is not only a plan that is presented. No, she says infrastructure must not be controlled or rented out by Microsoft or Peloton. We need worker unions, public infrastructure. We need an economic democratic model. And 300 European tech companies agreed on this and shared her idea. They said, okay, we will send a letter to the European Commission and we demand the Euro stacks to become sovereign because this would be the competitive edge we need. So sovereignty is not a nice to have in moral terms. It makes us competitive. It is the foundation. Whoever is interested in this topic, I write for Surplus, the trade magazine, and we currently have a whole edition on this topic. And you also find an interview with Francesca Bria. And if you're interested in the tech bros, you can actually buy my Broligarchy book or listen to my podcast, Tech Mary Kill, because I started this in the US. And apart from that, there are updates on LinkedIn. And I look forward to your questions now.